Have you ever thought about how much control the government has over what you wear? It's a fascinating question, especially when you consider that our clothing often feels like a very personal choice, a way we express ourselves to the world. But what happens when your personal style bumps up against the law? Yes, states can prohibit certain types of attire, but this power is not absolute. While states do have the authority to regulate what people wear, these regulations are significantly limited by constitutional protections, primarily those concerning freedom of speech and due process. The core reason states can regulate attire stems from their inherent police power, which is their authority to enact laws to protect public health, safety, and morals. For instance, laws against public indecency clearly fall under this umbrella, as do regulations requiring certain protective gear in specific workplaces. However, this power often collides with individual rights, particularly the First Amendment's protection of free speech, which includes what is known as symbolic speech, where clothing or appearance conveys a message. Courts frequently have to balance a state's legitimate interest in maintaining order or safety against an individual's right to express themselves. For you, this means understanding that context is crucial. A private business might bend certain attire to maintain a dress code or brand image, which is generally permissible. In public spaces, however, restrictions are much tighter. If a law bans a certain item of clothing, like wearing a mask in public, unless for health reasons, it often needs to serve a very specific and compelling government interest without being overly broad or vague. So, while a state might outlaw dangerous accessories, it generally cannot ban clothing simply because it's unpopular or unconventional. An interesting wrinkle here is the concept of content neutrality. If a state law restricts attire, courts will examine if the restriction is based on the asterisk message being conveyed or simply on the asterisk item itself. For example, a ban on gang colors might be seen differently than a ban on wearing a specific political t-shirt, even though both involve attire. Laws that restrict symbolic speech based on its content are very difficult for the state to uphold. Many anti-mask laws, originally aimed at groups like the Ku Klux Klan or protesters, have been challenged on these very grounds. Ultimately, states can indeed impose rules on attire when there's a clear public safety or health concern, or to prevent true public indecency. However, these laws must navigate the delicate balance of individual liberty, especially the right to express oneself through clothing, and are subject to stringent constitutional tests. It's a reminder that even our clothing choices operate within a fascinating and often complex legal framework.